Look at the global landscape right now. We are staring down highly aggressive, hostile actors making overt moves. Yet inside the United States, the response is completely fractured. We are busy tearing ourselves apart over partisan lines while the external pressure builds. There is a mathematical reason for this disconnect. A massive percentage of the current voting base, and the people actively writing our laws, have no living memory of the last major unifying attack on the homeland. Take the younger wing of the current political class. When 9/11 happened, many of them were merely children. They don't carry the visceral, burned-in memory of watching a foreign adversary strike their own soil and realizing the country is in imminent danger. This chart shows marriage rates for 30-year-olds dropping to just 12%. This represents a massive retreat from the traditional milestones that once anchored a person to civic and familial responsibility.
In that vacuum, we've seen a rise in the expectation of 3 services, from education to basic amenities, which further insulates citizens from the harsh economic and physical realities of global survival. 40 years ago, almost every household had a direct connection to the military. Kids grew up with fathers, brothers, or uncles who served. They understood inherently that the freedom they enjoyed to act like knuckleheads was paid for with someone else's life. Today, that organic, familial link is gone. When you remove the memory of war and you eliminate the expectation of personal sacrifice, you breed a deep national naivete. We are projecting our comfortable, sheltered reality onto a world full of predators, leaving us blind to the actual threats at our door. Go back a few decades. The world faced a harsh binary choice: defend a free society or yield to an expansive, hostile superpower with enough weapons to end the world. The prevailing doctrine, championed clearly by Ronald Reagan, was peace through strength. It required absolute moral clarity. You do not purchase your own temporary safety by making a deal that leaves a billion other human beings enslaved. They understood that a policy of accommodation is really just appeasement. If you continuously retreat to avoid conflict, you don't secure peace. You simply delay the inevitable, guaranteeing that when the final ultimatum arrives, you will be entirely too weak to own citizens that the West was retreating under the pressure of the Cold War. They believed our surrender would eventually be completely voluntary because we were rotting ourselves from the inside out, both morally and economically. They believed this because they heard prominent voices in the West pleading for peace at any price, the better read than dead crowd. Those voices weren't viewed as enlightened diplomats. They were recognized as the exact people paving the road to war. The Cold War era taught a very specific lesson. True peace requires drawing physical lines that tyrants know they cannot cross. The aftermath of 9/11 redefined the scope of American conflict. The enemy was no longer a structured nation-state with a flag and a capital, but a decentralized network of militant fanaticism. In historical conflicts, defeated adversaries eventually sat down and shook hands. We fought, someone won, and then both sides rebuilt their economies and coexisted. You can book a hotel in Vietnam or Japan today and spend your money without a second thought. The modern ideological adversary completely breaks that historical mold. Observers were sounding the alarm on this decades ago on national broadcasts, pointing out that radical extremism operates entirely outside the bounds of normal human diplomacy. Traditionally, opposing sides make concessions to find a survivable middle ground. You cannot apply this to an enemy whose opening demand is your absolute eradication. If their starting point is "we want you dead," there's zero space for compromise. When you use traditional diplomacy on an absolutist ideology, you misinterpret an existential threat as a simple policy disagreement. It guarantees that evil wins. Look at the current media and political landscape. We have factions within our own borders who are more interested in punishing this country for past mistakes than they are in defeating the people actively trying to kill us. There is an essential rule for any group under threat: the home team. You might hate the coach and you might complain about the players, but the moment a fight breaks out on the field, the entire bench clears. You defend your own. That instinct is disappearing. Citizens now rush online to attack their own nation, treating patriotism like a partisan disease. We have fractured our own ranks in the face of an enemy at once all of us gone. War is not an academic debate. It is the brutal reality of survival. A society must be willing to pursue and embrace victory without embarrassment. The leaders who secured the West understood this completely. We have to reject the reflex to appease. We need a doctrine that values actual survival over looking polite at a summit. We must refuse to apologize for wanting to win. Peace never follows the carefully typed words of a diplomat. It follows victory. And victory requires a generation unapologetically committed to defending the home team.